at the end of the day, it was the game we felt like we could give Soaz because we need him in the playoffs to fully be Fnatic, I think. And even though right now he might not be as prepared as I am, it's really important for us as a team that we set him up to be, and I think it's important that he gets stage games so that we can do that. So he's played with the team recently on stage, and that we can utilize him in the playoffs as a 6-man roster.
Hey everyone, this is Darius from the Shotcaller sitting here with Bwipo after a unfortunate loss against RNG. What went wrong in that game?
I think from the draft, in the draft we picked the Sound to bait them into taking a tank matchup, which is generally considered to be favorable, right? Because if you take the carry matchup into the Scion, it is generally considered bad. And given we had the Trundle, this was the way to get value out of the Trundle. Sure. To bait them or force them to pick a tank here. But I think in the game, our early game was very strong. I think we made like 1 or 2 mistakes near the bot side where they got a few kills traded back after we make a good play. But all in all, Caps really stepped up on the early game, in the early game laning phase, and had a huge amount of pressure everywhere. Yeah, that's basically it, right? Like Caps just smurfed the early game. We had like a 5 or 6k gold lead probably. And then we had the Trundle into the Cho to take care of the Cho, but I feel like we just misexecuted on fights and either played too restrained or didn't execute that composition properly, right? Because we had the idea of if they pick Cho, it's going to be terrible because we have Braum and Trundle to take care of him. It's going to be impossible for him to team fight or have any impact due to how the subjugate works. But that didn't come through. And as a result, the team fights were really bad, even though we opted into them, because you had the turning point where they got Baron happened because we opted into a team fight rather than just playing the macro game, which was, I guess, a mistake on our part in hindsight. But it's hard to see that would be a mistake, given that we felt stronger in the game, and we were, because we were a few thousand gold up on them, right?
Yeah, you definitely were, and those mistakes can cost you the game. I think like on the first day we saw a Fnatic that didn't work out. That felt very disappointing from a viewer's perspective. Right. On the second day, you guys decisively beat King Zone.
Maybe I have my badge.
Oh, that doesn't matter as long as you don't turn it. Yeah.
Well, that's my point. It might have been on the camera.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, hope so. Hope not. Go now anyway. Go on. Sorry.
So yeah, day two was a completely different story. Fnatic looked really good, really solid. Today, Fnatic was shaky, in my opinion, even in the first game and the second game now as well. Both games could have been won, but also both games could have been lost, in my opinion. So is this the true Fnatic?
I think people will say that for the second game because of the mistake we made in the mid game. I think if we played a very slow and controlled game like we did against Kingzone and perhaps play the team fights a little bit better, that would have been a lot faster of a game. It would have been a lot smoother a game, and people would have been like, yeah, this is the Fnatic that beat Kingzone. I think the big difference that happened in game 1 was, or what made the game difficult, is because they had a side lane win condition in Camille, and we sacrificed our top lane to try and get bot lane rolling, and that bit us. That made the game pretty hard eventually, but Caps took care of the Camille. So yeah, I think, is this a Fnatic? I think right now, Fnatic is only Caps. He's really stepping up, and he's actually just solo carrying our early games, our late games, whatever he's put on, right? Either he's put on something that's more early game oriented and he's just hard carrying early game, or he's put on something that's more mid to late and then he's hard carrying mid to late. But I hope that Fnatic can become a mixture of all 5 players. Shout out to Broxah too, actually. Broxah has really been stepping up with his pathing and making sure, like, he's always there, right? Like, every play we make, he's there, and I think our mid jungle is really stepping up in this tournament, and I think the side laners have to follow suit.
Lots of criticism directed to yourself as well. You mentioned after the first day in an Inven interview that if you're gonna play like this, you would be subbed out. Yesterday you won both your games. I think you played really well personally, but still Soaz came in for the game against RNG. So what's like the situation right now with you and Soaz?
Right now we have the idea that the whole problem with him not being fully prepared is the reason why I'm playing in the first place, and we feel like if we had any opportunity to give him a game, it was that game against EVOS, in case we needed him in the playoffs. Because I think it's realistic for us to assume that we can make playoffs as 4 and 6 is a realistic, or it is usually enough to enter playoffs. Now the tournament's looking really close with Flash Wolves beating Kingzone now, so it's really, it could go anywhere. Maybe you need a 5 and 5, but usually 4 and 6 is enough. So we felt like as long as we can aim for that goal of a 4 and 6 or get out of playoffs and look like a strong team, I think we'll be fine. Now Flash Wolves winning might have changed up our plans a bit. We'll have to see for tomorrow, but at the end of the day, it was the game we felt like we could give Soaz because we need him in the playoffs to fully be Fnatic, I think. And even though right now he might not be as prepared as I am, it's really important for us as a team that we set him up to be, and I think it's important that he gets stage games so that we can do that. So he's played with the team recently on stage, and that we can utilize him in the playoffs as a 6-man roster.
Does that mean we should expect Soaz to come in during the playoffs if you guys do make it there?
I can't say for now. I would say that he's always there, right? It's not like it's always a switch, right? You can always turn it off or on or off, and depending on how the games go from now, how we feel as a team, like there's a lot of factors that go into it. Depending on who we're playing, but at the end of the day, it will be performance, and depending on whoever's performing better, I think will get the starting spot. That being said, even if you're a better performer, sometimes you just need a change of air, right? And I think that, let's say we're 0-2 down in semifinals or whatever, and then Soaz comes in to replace me just to make sure that the game feels different.
Yeah.
There's a different player. There's a change happened. There's change, right? Because I think that's really important if you're really feeling down. So yeah, whether he starts or I start, we don't know yet. I think it depends on how the tournament's going to go, how we feel as a team, and the meta, right? Because I feel like the top lane meta isn't fully settled yet on what is good. Right now, a lot of people are inching towards the tanks, but we've seen the Alawi, the Camille from Kingzone do exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Even the Camille against us, so maybe we're underestimating the carry top laners a little and have to reconsider playing them. But for now, I think we're just going to be looking at the immediate results and see what we can do with that.
How do you personally feel about this, or about your situation right now?
My situation as starter? Well, I'm incredibly happy that I got to start and I can prove myself. The first day I really disappointed, and as I've said, it was unacceptable, because I feel like if we do well in this type of style with these type of champions, that teams will have a very hard time drafting against us, and it will give us a good advantage. Now, a lot of teams have started to ignore the top lane picks or the top lane carries that we can play, so I'm not 100% sure how to feel right now as we just lost, but I feel like I still played a solid sound game against RNG. It's still one of my comfort picks, and I think that if we play a little cleaner, just that tiny bit better, we would take the game off them right there. So how do I feel about it? I'm pretty happy that I got to prove that I'm a good top laner, that I can lane against the likes of Khan and Let Me and all these players, because I think anybody that's at this tournament needs to be able to.
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, I remember I was the first person I had the opportunity to talk to in an interview. Still very happy about that fact, of course. And I think it was a good interview for that matter. Since then, you've spoken to a lot of outlets, and you've sometimes made some comments that have caused some controversy and stuff. What has this journey so far been like for you? Because you must have such, it was so much on at the same time, going to finals, going to Copenhagen, playing all 3 games. The whole situation just evolved so quickly for you now starting MSI. Have you felt overwhelmed by the publicity, or was it maybe even a case of overconfidence saying certain things,
I don't think it was necessarily overconfidence. It's just my read on the meta. I feel like on the finals patch that we played in Copenhagen, I had the best read on how to play the champions in the meta. So I feel like I had the best idea of how to play the Sion, and even if people picked a good matchup into me with a different tank that should normally outperform Sion in the 5v5, I still had the feeling that I was better and I could just win the team fight for my team on my own, basically, which is what ended up happening, right? So I felt like I proved a point in being able to, I guess, play one champion. I don't know, play the meta perhaps. yeah, like from my point of view, it felt like, you know, these guys are counterpicking me with everything they've got, and, you know, they just can't get through my first champion. So, you know, like, why do I have to go to the next? You know, why do I have to prove a point on other champions? So it was definitely premature, right? Because we've got summer split to play, and I got to play against all these super good top laners, right? Someone like Alfari, like, he didn't even make playoffs because of unfortunate circumstances, really, but he's still most likely world class, right? I haven't seen him play in a while, but I can't imagine that he wouldn't be. Same for Odoamne, same for Fnatic, which also didn't make playoffs. So I think in a way it was nice that the top end of the best top laners in Europe didn't make it. Of course, Wonder had a great performance throughout the split and even in the semifinals. When he was matched up against me, his laning phase was very strong, and that's kind of where it ended. Right, that's where I took over, and I had a lot more impact than him. Just make sure he was invisible and didn't have any impact in the team fights with the way we played. So yeah, what it comes down to, I think, is just I've always just tried and roll off my performance and try and communicate how I feel based on my performance and be as honest as possible with how I feel about how to play. Because the entire narrative was that I'd get smashed and he's much better than me, and you know, and I'm like, you know, I'm just looking at this, and what people don't seem to realize is that. I've seen these players play much more than the public, right? I watched the scrims, the entire split through, played against these guys more than once. So I have a general grasp of how good they are. So, of course, they'll improve over the course of me being here at MSI, but I'll improve more naturally because the level of competition is much higher.
Okay. Anything you would like to say to the Fnatic fans out there?
Today, Soaz came in and he looked a little shaky thanks to the decisions we made as a team. I'd like people to still believe in him and make sure that this performance isn't, or at least I'd like to make sure that this performance isn't the last we'll see from him at MSI. I hope he can show us why he's still Soaz, right? And I hope I can do the same. And hopefully I can start getting some wins for our team now, because I feel like the sound game was also a very big disappointment from my end, because I feel like I could have made the decisions. I made the decisions to fight, and that led to our team throwing. For me personally, that's very devastating, right? Because in the finals, often, like, you know, I came from the finals where it was like every time I called the fight, we just win it, right? And it was a really good feeling, and now it's the opposite. It feels awful. But, you know, just keep supporting Soaz, keep supporting the team, keep supporting everybody on our team. We're trying really hard to make this a thing, and we actually feel like a team is if we step up and play a good game or play a good series, as long as we make the playoffs, we actually have a chance to compete for the finals.
Awesome. Well, this was Bwipo from Fnatic and Darius from the Shotcaller. Hope you had a good day. See you then.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I hope you just enjoyed that MSI interview. We would very much appreciate your support, so please make sure to leave a like and a comment down below, subscribe over here, and watch some more of our content here, and make sure to check out the shotcaller.net for more NA, EU, and other regional content. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time.